Travis and I are down in Texas getting behind the wheel of the all-new refreshed 2025 Chevy Tahoe, as well as Suburban. Now behind me, this is the RST trim, a little bit more sportier, sleek, and stealth than the other trims, giving you options to make this a more performance-oriented SUV. Now in terms of what is new for 2025, the biggest change is going to be the exterior, the lights. So we have the lights up front, the lights out back are redesigned, more technology packed inside. But Travis, what do you think of this new headlight design? So they moved the headlight beams from up top to down below and made this upper section just a DRL, complementing this DRL that surrounds the actual headlight. What do you think of this? It's interesting.
So it's a nice carryover of the overall design, but just some changes aesthetically, some tweaks here and there, and I think they've done a really good job. I don't always love the divorce headlight look. I appreciate that our turn signals are up above, but when everything is split, it maybe isn't my favorite, but what is my favorite is the front end here on this RST. There are a lot of different ways visually you can get your Suburban, and the good news is it's not just visual tweaks, but it does carry over pretty well. And since this is the performance model, everything's blacked out. We're not getting a whole lot of chrome here. We have the blacked out badge, we have a sleeker grille, and it carries over to the rest of the car. This is the way I think I would order my Tahoe.
Yeah, you make a good point about the headlights. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the divorce headlight look on certain vehicles, but I think Chevy's really implemented it well on other SUVs in their lineup, as well as here on the Tahoe and Suburban. I think the fact that they also have the DRL down below, kind of encompassing the headlight as well, kind of complements and makes it just a more cohesive package for the headlight. But moving on from that, like Travis said, there isn't going to be any chrome or exposed aluminum on any part of this vehicle. Everything is primarily going to be a black or a plastic. Now you see going down the side, we do have the plastic side steps that are going to be integrated. They're not auto retracting like you're going to find in the higher end models. Those are going to be there at all times. Blacked out Tahoe badge, blacked out wheels. Then you see that red poking through those 20-inch wheels. And these are going to be part of the performance package. This is the performance edition, so we get Firestone Pursuit tires, Brembo brakes, and these nice black wheels. Now, why I say Pursuit tires, because when you go to that performance edition, you get the exhaust intake, or sorry, dual exhaust from the cat back, the intake, you get Brembo brakes up front, and you get the 6.2 liter. Or when you equip the 6.2 liter that is optional for the RST, you get the Performance Edition, and then you can add more things onto that. There is a lot of variability in the setup of the vehicle that you can choose at the time of buying. But how our vehicle is set up right here, we have that package equipped.
Now when you get that 6.2, like Nick mentioned, there are a lot of things that come with it, but there's also a lot of pieces of this RST that really we got the benefit of on the road because this is the Performance Edition. And that means not only did we get that upgraded engine, but we also got an upgraded suspension, we get the tires, we get the exhaust, and this thing sounds absolutely fantastic out on the open road. But for most people, this is going to be their daily driver. Maybe it's the mommy mobile, the soccer machine, but this is a cruiser.
Yeah, for sure. And with that performance package, you get the MagneRide suspension. So it comes standard with just your regular coilover suspension or your regular steel spring suspension. With that performance, you go MagneRide, and it is a comfortable ride at that. And you know, the MagneRide, when it originally came out, it was implemented on the Corvette way back when, more of a performance, stiffer suspension for track use. They've really refined it, and they even find the MagneRide when you get the air suspension on the Tahoe or Suburban, but here the MagneRide gets you down the road comfortably, as well as make sure that you aren't having too much body roll, nose dip, in any sort of sway here and there when you are in any sort of, I don't know, high cornering G situation.
Now, as far as dimensions, Nick, everything pretty much stayed the same, right?
Yep, dimensionally exactly the same from 2024. Obviously, this is going to be shorter than the Suburban, but the Suburban goes unchanged as well. Now, dimensionally, I do love the dimensions of the Tahoe a little bit better than the Suburban. Sometimes the Suburban just looks a little bit too gargantuan going down the road, but here in the RST Tahoe, it looks pretty great. What do you think?
Especially in this red.
Yeah, I think this is your choice, right? If you were to choose a trim of the Tahoe or even the Suburban, this is your choice, yeah?
I think I would go with this RST, especially with this red, with that 6.2. It's a tough one to beat. Now, Nick just went ahead and shifted the car for us so we can get a much better look here at the back end. And that's because the biggest change back here is going to be in the taillights, where they kicked everything just a little bit farther out to the edges.
Yeah, for the taillights, these are going to be a little bit redesigned over 2024. Similar design, but just reworked. So before, you could almost flip this 180, and these taillights, the wider part or the taller part would have been on the inside, but them flipping it to the outside, it gives it a nice wide stance, complementing this nice black bar that goes across the tailgate. When paired with this radiant red tint coat, it really does contrast off of each other and give it a unique look. Now, obviously we have those black badges, cameras underneath, a lot of different features here on the RST that really pop off against this red tint coat.
The other thing that we get, and we mentioned earlier, is going to be that exhaust. Now, there are a couple different ways you can get your exhaust with a Tahoe. This is going to be what you find on most of the trims people are going to buy. If you get the LS, it's going to go down a little bit. It won't be nearly as attractive, but if you go all the way up to the high country, we do get a nice square exhaust, which is a pretty good look and matches really well with the square upright nature of this vehicle. The only thing that I'm missing is something you'd have to pay a lot more money for. If you look right here, where we talked about everything going vertical, what I'm missing is more lights up here, but if you want that, you can get it in the Cadillac.
Yep, yeah, those have a very tall taillight. I actually, you know, me personally, I like this design better than that tall taillight. I think going down the road, I think these are gonna age just a tad bit better than those long taillights. Now, speaking of the taillights, last thing I wanna mention is that these are not animated. On the higher trims, you are gonna get an animated LED when you walk up to the vehicle, unlock it. They have a nice little animation that goes along with them and with the turn signal, but here on the RST, you do not get that. Still a nice LED taillight though, all with that being said.
Now, the reason you get the Tahoe is because you need the space, and we have plenty of space here in the back. Nick, can you open that up for us?
Pop that open. Excuse all of our camera gear and luggage. We're going straight to the airport after this.
Never not on the go, but that's what most people who buy Tahoes are doing, is always on the move. Now, we've got that third row folded down, and this moment we can go ahead and get that raised because down here in the corner, we've got the power up down for that third row, and we also have the release for the second row to make everything nice and easy.
Let me go ahead and release that second row so you can see. Go ahead and put those down, and those fold all the way flat, and that gives you your max cargo capacity.
Yeah, we're looking at 122, just over 122 cubic feet of storage capacity. We'll use a little moving magic and go ahead and get all of these seats up so you can see how much space you have when you have a ton of passengers. All right, movie magic moment over. Here's what we have left if you have all three rows up and assuming you have passengers. There's still quite a bit of room, but we wouldn't be able to fit 7 sets of luggage in here.
Yeah, so we have 25.5 cubic feet of storage behind that third row. Now, all of our camera equipment and luggage back here, we can fit it in 2 different ways. We have our hard case down below laid flat, long-wise, as well as a backpack stacked on top, or if you look over at my bags, you have them vertically, and you can fit quite a bit of stuff back here behind that third row, 25.5 cubic feet, all the way up to that 122.7, is that correct? Is that,
yeah, now the only thing that's missing here is the room for all 8 or 9 people's stuff. But the reality is that I don't think I would go get a Suburban. I would just put a roof rack on my Tahoe, and that way I'm not carrying around too much vehicle when I don't have to.
Yeah, but that is going to be the case where that's one of the reasons why there is the Tahoe and the Suburban, is because if you do need that extra space, you have that option to do just that. Now, there is just a tad bit more storage down below this floor, but without us taking everything out, we have quite a bit of stuff down there. Tie downs on each side. We have charging outlets right next to where those seats drop down, right where you press those seats to drop down, as well as just a lot of amenities that we're going to get into on the interior. So let's jump on inside and see what this vehicle has to offer. Now, in terms of adjustability for the driver and passenger seat, there is plenty of it here in the RST. Over on the driver's side, I have adjustability in not only the up and down, side to side, seat back, all of that, but you also have lumbar adjustment. Now, Travis, over on your side, what do you got over there?
Yeah, over for the passengers, the good news is we have plenty of adjustability as well. I believe we're looking at an 8-way adjustable seat, including that lumbar support, which you and me both definitely appreciate.
Yeah, no, what is going to be standard across the lineup, and we'll talk about technology here in a second, but storage-wise, you have a lot to offer. Now, you have your standard center console that opens up nice and deep. There is a nice rubber insert down below for things to not slide around. There is no charging, there is no lights down there, but there is quite a bit of storage. Now, if I close that up and you need more storage, you can actually slide this center console back, keeps going, and that exposes a nice open area where you can store a purse, a grocery bag, whatever it may be, and that will be nicely confined by the side bolsters here on this center console. But if you want more storage, there is a secret drawer. You can put your phone down there, you can hide that away, and when you slide it back, it's not accessible. When the car's off, you can't access that. So it's almost like a secret hidden storage if you want to protect a wallet, any sort of valuables, whatever it may be. And also what this gives you is a adjustability for your second row passengers. So if you have people sitting back there and they need to use those cup holders, if they have shorter arms or kids or whatever it may be, you can actually slide this back for them to easily access it.
And you can do all of that without losing your own armrest. So just about everything thought here in a trick center console.
So normally it'd be here, but you slide this forward, boom, you're back in business, baby. And that is a super cool thing to have across the lineup. But what I will point out is that we do have the bench seat option up front in the lower trim. So if you do choose the 9-passenger option, whether it be in the Tahoe or the Suburban, you will not get this. The center console will be no longer here.
That's got to be its own kind of cool. Let me go ahead and swing around and let's talk about that infotainment. When it comes to infotainment, we have a ton of real estate. Nick, can you go ahead and talk us through some of this?
Yeah, so this is going to be the biggest change in terms of interior technology, and that is going to be this 17.7-inch infotainment screen. It's a very vivid, snappy, colorful display, and this is going to be standard in every single trim. Whether you go for the LS base or all the way up to the high country, you are going to be getting this. Now, you have your HVAC control still on the screen, but still having functionality for physical climate control down below. You have 2 vents that are adjustable for both the driver and passenger, and a Qi wireless charger down below to charge your phones. Now you have a little bit more storage. As you can see, my hotel key and keys are going to be in here, USB-A, USB-C, and 2 cup holders. A lot of gloss black, however, surrounding the charging ports and the cup holders. That is going to scratch and fade and just get worn out over time. I wish they did a little bit less gloss black throughout the trim levels, but that is just how it's going to be.
Across the rest of the dashboard, really it's a different design. They've go ahead and dropped the eye line of everything, and that's made this feel a little bit more spacious and a little bit easier to see out of. Nick, if you can go ahead and spin that steering wheel for me. There we go. You also have quite a bit of screen real estate here. I believe this is about 11 inches. My apologies if I'm wrong there, but there's lots of available space. And in this model, you can see we've got a little bit of a hump there. That's because there is a heads-up display. So all the information you could want, and the fact that you can go ahead and separate that from having to look between the steering wheel if you don't want to, checking things like your speed while you're out on the road, nice and easy. But we also have a pretty typical Chevy steering wheel here. One of the unusual pieces is that the L, so your low gears, are a button activated there on the wheel, not connected to the driver stalk, which is a little bit of an interesting choice as far as I'm concerned. I don't think a ton of people are going to use it regularly, so it's not going to get in the way, but it is an interesting choice. But I will say that the steering wheel feels real nice under the hands, and on the farther left, we do have more buttons, so there are plenty of physical controls along with digital controls. Whichever way you want it, you can probably get it here.
The thing I love most about these screens and the technology in here is going to be the fact that you not only have your display for your navigation here, you have navigation up on your 11-inch screen that you can cast from your built-in navigation on your system, put it onto your driver information display, and even on your heads-up display, it is going to tell you directions as well. So there is a lot of, if you missed your turn, I mean, that's on you, because you got a lot of things reminding you. Now this heads-up display is going to be optional on this trim, or is it standard on the RS?
So it's going to be optional throughout the lineups. It is going to be standard on some like the high country. But Nick, it's time to get you out of the driver's seat and see how you fit in the rest of these seats. All right, Nick, you've been relegated to the second row. How's that feel for you?
Doesn't feel too bad. It has a little bit more room than you'd find with the dual pane panoramic moonroof that you're going to find optional on this trim or standard over on the high country. It offers just a little bit of more headroom, as it does not take away with all the motors and tracks and things of that nature. But if you do have it, it will take just a tad bit away. You have air vents up top, so you can blow that HVAC straight into your face. So it's better than having it down below and just kind of ambient air.
And you do have your own controls down here, right?
Yep, exactly. So you have your HVAC controls back here. You have a tri-zone climate control, so you have a dual up front and your own for second and third row. And with that performance pack, you also get second row heated seats, and USB-C charging and a full outlet down below. A lot of charging back here in the second row. Now in terms of size, my head does not hit. Legroom is aplenty, and you can slide the seat forward and backwards at your own demise. Now if I scoot back here to the third row, let's go ahead. And this seat is all the way back. Now in terms of leg room, I am touching the back of this seat, but you can ask nicely, hey brother, hey sister, move that seat up please. And they're gonna say no, obviously. Or they're gonna be nice and give you a little bit of extra leg room if you're over 6 foot. But in terms of headroom, actually pretty respectable back here. They have a nice bump out in the headliner, giving you that extra headroom. Now off to the side, you are gonna hit the headliner, but that is only in that case. Cup holders on each side, USB-C charging. A lot of amenities, whether it be second or third row to make it comfortable. LED lights up top, second and third row. Hooks to hang your laundry or whatever it may be, grocery bags. But that is gonna be when you have these seats down. A lot of space back here.
Now, Nick, you crawled in through that center. That's kind of the cheap and easy way to do it. Now, there are a couple different ways to get back here. One thing worth noting, none of them will allow you to get a car seat in here because it's a folding mechanism. So I've got the handle just below down here. Pull once, it's gonna fold itself. And if we need a little bit more room or just want easier access, we'll get Nick there to play Vanna White, slide that forward, and we have a ton of space, a lot of easy access here. That third row isn't quite the prison sentence that you can get in some other vehicles, but that's why you get something like a full-size SUV.
Yeah, now one thing to point out is if you are in this third row and you need to get out and your people aren't letting you out, there is something on the C-pillar back here that you press the button and that drops that seat, and you have your pull handle just like I did for Travis, and that will give you maximum room back here. So if you are in the third row and you just wanted to extend your legs out all the way, you can do just that. Now those seats are gonna be up and might move while you drive, but you can do that. You can have extra storage as well. So there's different options to get back here, different options to get out. So different ways to open the seat. Unfortunately, there is no car seat functionality to keep those in, but
in the 2025 model year, we have 3 different engine options available. We're gonna start here with what we have under this hood, which is the 6.2 V8. That's gonna be a carryover, just like the 5.3 standard V8 is going to be from last year's model. Don't worry, we'll get numbers up on the screen there. The biggest change is actually still a fairly small change, but not a bad one. It's the improved 3-liter diesel that you get, and that's going to have a couple changes, mostly to engine accessories, not the specific engine itself. So we're looking at the peripherals, like the turbo, like the intake. All of those have gotten just a small tweak. We're getting about 10% more horsepower, right, Nick?
Yeah, correct. You're gonna get 10% more horsepower in the diesel, but in terms of numbers for the 6.2, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. But if that is not enough torque for you, that 3-liter diesel will give you the most torque at 495. But if you see here what Travis is looking at, that clear intake with that nice red filter, that is part of that performance edition. You are gonna get that intake, and that is such a cool looking intake from factory. That is the coolest thing. That's why I love Chevy, because they really take the time and make sure if they're gonna install something, they're gonna make it look good and make it look nice for the money.
But it is worth noting that when you do get the performance package and you get that pretty intake, you also get a pretty sound.
Yeah, you definitely get that nice sound with that catback exhaust, and we'll put in a clip of it revving so you can hear just that. Now, in terms of pricing for the RST, this trim in the Tahoe is gonna start at $69,500 starting. Now, you're obviously gonna have more options here and there, adding prices, so you're gonna be over $70,000 at the end of the day with destination and all of that included. So at $70,000, Travis, do you think that you would still choose this, or would you go for a lower trim? Or what's your thoughts on that, $70,000?
This RST comes in just about $8,000 more than we find for the base LS. You are getting quite a bit here, especially cosmetically. The other thing you can do around that $70,000 mark is go for the Z71, which we haven't touched on a whole lot, but a few things you get with the Z71 include a different front bumper. Now it's going to be what they call, I believe, the high approach bumper. Really, it just gives you a little bit more approach angle, but it also gives you a very different visual look. We get some different wheels and tires. We also now have the 3-liter diesel available in that Z71. So that Z71 and this RST, those are geared towards that younger buyer. They are going to just be a forked different direction, not necessarily one better than the other, but just different priorities. I will say that I'm gonna stick with this RST, but Nick, I suspect you're interested in that Z71.
For sure, my kind of history revolves around off-roading, and whether or not you're off-roading, a Z71 gives you options to make it comfortable as well. You can get air suspension equipped to that, as well as that 3-liter Duramax with a 10-speed. It's just a comfortable driving car altogether. Now, one thing to remember is the Z71 will have a different grille and a front fascia than we find here on the RST. It's going to be a little bit more open, giving more airflow for cooling off-road, as well as some more tidbits that we'll get into when we get that vehicle in our press fleet.
We don't get the Z71 to play with off-road, but we can take this on-road, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, of all the variants of the Tahoe and Suburban that we've driven in the last couple days, this one has got to be the most fun. We've got the 6.2, this is the RST with some of those performance goodies. Nick, how's this been out on the road so far?
It's been great so far. It's not going to give you that luxury feel that the air suspension with the MagneRide is going to give you, but this does have the MagneRide suspension. It's a little bit more sporty oriented vehicle than the High Country or even some of the higher end trims. It's not going to have that air suspension feel. Still going to give you a nice quality ride on the road, giving you the best of both sporty and comfortable, but it is going to be a little bit different of a ride, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it sounds incredible. So this does have that 6.2 as an air intake. It has Brembo brakes. It has a catback exhaust, true dual exhaust, really screaming outside those tailpipes. Even on startup, it puffs with just a tad bit of smoke, and it sounds great. But yeah, it's a fun vehicle to be in. Now, I haven't spent a ton of time driving, but really passenger, this is more fun being passenger. It's so comfortable over here.
You know, it's one of those things where these Tahoes have such a variety of individual customers they want to reach. This RST, I think, has done a good job of reaching the performance-oriented customer in a vehicle that on the other end has a off-road variant and a luxury variant. The biggest thing, though, no matter which of these Tahoes you get in, the forward-facing view is the same, which is a lower dashboard and a ton of screen real estate.
Yeah, a ton of screen real estate to put up all your maps and all the gauge clusters, whatever information you want to display on your driver information, you can do that. To back up on what you were saying about giving that sport-oriented trim to the customer, Chevy was telling us that this is the highest conquest trim out of the lineup. So they're going out in the market. People are finding this vehicle and being first-time Tahoe or Suburban buyers because it is kind of moving towards a younger demographic with this RST trim. Giving you performance in an SUV definitely is more of a younger person type want, and that is what Chevy is achieving. So it's nice that they give the customer that option. Like we talked about with the Suburban as well, they're giving the customer so much room for adjustability. If you like the RST but you don't want the performance package, or you want more miles per gallon, just a different experience, you can go with the 5.3 that is standard. 6.2 is optional, or you can even go with that second generation 3-liter Duramax.
For sure, and no matter which one you get, there is quite a bit of standard equipment. So we don't have Super Cruise in this model at the moment. Super Cruise will be coming later, so the first run of these will not have it, but they all come with adaptive cruise control. So you get a big step forward in your advanced driver assist without having to go all the way to Super Cruise. It's the same thing with the touchscreen. We have tons of real estate inside. Obviously, this is a big vehicle. There's a lot of room and a lot of seating configurations. 7, 8, or 9 seats available in this Tahoe.
Yeah, now the 9-seat configuration is going to be just down there on that LS trim, is that correct? The LS trim, not the LT, the LS. And so it'll be a bench in the front, a bench in the second, as well as a bench in the rear. So that's a pretty cool option to have. Chevy's giving you that configurability that you were looking for, especially when you're trying to figure out what vehicle is right for you. Just gives that much more adjustability, as well as just reaching that much broader of an audience, which is nice.
Now, one thing we don't get to try while we're out here for this trip is towing, but all of these Tahoes and Suburbans, we've done both in the last couple days, do have quite a bit of towing capacity, if not the most, still quite a bit.
Yeah, so the Suburban has a max towing capacity of 8,200 pounds, and that is because you just have that much more vehicle, more vehicle to tow around. The Tahoe, however, does have a max towing capacity of 8,400 pounds when equipped properly, that's a lot of weight. I mean, that's a lot of weight behind a vehicle that is short. This isn't short by any means,
right?
But it is not a full-size truck. It is not a heavy duty. That is a lot of weight to be towing. Now, on your left side, is there an integrated brake controller?
On this one here, I don't believe we have the integrated brake controller, so we don't have the towing package on this one, which makes sense. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of RST people who would want that. We just don't have it in this particular model.
Not currently equipped, but yesterday in our Suburban High Country, that was equipped, so you can go up to that max towing capacity, 8,200 in the Suburban, or if you had it equipped in here, 8,400 pounds.
Along with the fact that we have towing capability, we also had a lot of technology that Chevy has brought over basically directly from the full-size truck lineup. So when it comes to ease of towing, we've got a lot of different pieces, including things like your blind spot monitoring, plugging in with your invisible cam or your invisible trailer stuff. All of that's there, but the safety technology is also carried over from those full-size pickups, and it's going to be implemented here basically at standard, right?
Yeah, correct. There's going to be a lot of standard safety equipment across the lineup of both Tahoe and Suburban. So we have HD surround vision standard across the lineup. We have pedestrian braking, front park assist, rear park assist, parking sensors front and rear. A lot of stuff standard, and there's also a lot more optional if you wanted to go that route. Now, when you were talking about towing technology or towing safety, one thing Chevy has done for the 2025 model is with your integrated maps in the infotainment system, not your Google Maps on your phone or Apple Maps, but the Google Maps that are built into the infotainment, you can put in a destination, and if you have all of your trailer information put into the system, it will actually tell you a route designated for your trailer height. So if you have a really tall trailer that's 13, 14, 15 feet high, that map will actually direct you around obstacles that you would not fit under otherwise. So that is a cool feature if you are towing a lot, a taller trailer, a wider trailer, whatever it may be. This truck and this technology can get you to your destination safely without putting you in a compromising position in a bridge, overpass, or whatever it may be. It's a nice technology to have.
With a lot of carryover, but some very thoughtful changes made to this 2025 model year, as far as I'm concerned, Chevy's done a great job of keeping this very relevant. Nick, what do you think?
I think they definitely did enough to make this to make it continue to be at the top of the food chain in terms of three-row full-size SUVs. I love the fact that they give the buyer the option to choose their trim, to choose their suspension, as well as choose different engine options, and they are giving you the option of a diesel even in their off-road trim. Now that is something that is segment exclusive. Now let us know down in the comments which trim you would choose or what vehicle you would choose if you're looking for a three-row family hauler SUV, because there are quite a few domestically, and I want to see what you guys have to say down below. Now that is going to do it for our time here in Texas with the Tahoe as well as the Suburban. It's been a nice time here getting to experience the refreshed 2025 model year, but until we get it in our press fleets, we really can't say how it feels to live with it for multiple days or on road trips, whatever it may be. And we'll have more details in terms of miles per gallon, EPA ratings, pricing, options, things of that nature when we get it back home in our press fleet. But that is going to do it. Let us know down in the comments which vehicle you would choose if you're shopping for a family hauler, which trim, which options you would choose for your vehicle. I know me, Z71 Air Ride 6.2 liter. Travis, what would you choose?
I'm going RST with that 6.2, but let us know down in the comment section below. Also find us on Facebook, Threads, Instagram, any of those all social places. Nick, until then, we'll see them down the road.
See you guys.